What's up? I'm Maggie. Um, I'm a director of product at Drift, and I know we have just under 30 minutes, so I'm going to fly through this super quickly because my goal is for each of you to be able to take at least one thing back to your teams that you can share. And I'm super excited because I've never shared this story outside of Drift. I've only shared it with our product team, and I'm finally going to share it with you guys. But I'm not going to tell you a story of a team that was really amazing that shipped something awesome. Instead, I'm going to tell you the real story of our bot builder at Drift and the hard road we went on, and actually the journey that one team went through to redesign one of our core products twice in 1 year in our quest to build the best product in the market. And along the way, I'm going to share 3 things. So first, before you can do anything really well, you have to be able to work together as a team, and I'll share how we got there. Second, iterating is what we're used to doing. It's what we're supposed to do. But sometimes you have to take a big swing, and I'll share how we figured that out. And then third, if you think that you're done when you hit that button and you launch your product, you're missing out on something amazing. So I'll share how we used our product launch process to our advantage. But for the story to make sense, I want to tell you just a little bit about Drift. Drift is a conversational sales and marketing platform, which just means that we're trying to make B2B buying as easy and delightful as shopping at a consumer store. And we do that in part by helping our B2B customers be responsive to their customers at scale. And we do that with a bot. And the bot can handle chatting with all of the traffic that a B2B website gets, or as we think about it, a B2B storefront gets. And behind the bot is a tool that our customers use to write out the conversations that the bot can have and the different topics that the bot can handle. And last year, actually, in the beginning of 2018, we decided that it was time for us to invest in that product. We had proven it out in the market, and it was time for us just to make it easier to use. Because at the time, it actually looked like this. It was pretty much an overgrown live chat CTA. The whole thing was based on what you could get out of it. The questions were kind of jammed into the left, as you can see. And this actually did make sense, though, because at the time, we were focused more on proving out product market fit for our startup than we were on doing anything else. Because according to us, your product doesn't really matter if no one's going to use it. So this bot builder that we had been working on had kind of grown organically out of what we were doing. So we actually started as a live chat tool. Then we added our bot. And then we added the ability for our bot to book meetings for our customers' sales teams. And this was really when our product started to take off and we got a lot of traction. And it was at this point that we thought, all right, we can invest in this thing, we can make it better. And the really big thing that we wanted to do was make it more visual. Because like you saw in that old thing, it was just sort of hard to see what was happening. So what we did in May of last year is we launched LeadBot 2.0. And while this bot builder was a lot better, it was more visual, as you can see, there was one thing that the team had a big challenge with, and that was that the basic structure looked like this. And while this was better, those of us on the team, so me in product, design, and engineering, there was something that we struggled with, and that's that conversations don't actually look like this. They look like this. This is a map of 50 human-to-human conversations on the same topic. And this is really easy to build, easy to explain to customers. This is pretty much impossible to build, and I have no idea how we'd explain to anyone else how to use this. So the tricky part in May of last year is that this was good. It was better than what we had. Our management team was pretty excited about it. But in their perspective, it was time for us to go back to just iterating and following the customer on it. But on the team, we didn't think it was good enough. We thought it was fine, right? But we're not in this room because we want to build products that are fine. We didn't come all the way to Salt Lake City to build fine products. So for us, we knew that we could make our tool better if we just made it look like this. This is much more representative of how human conversations work. It's much more representative of how humans think about bots. But the problem is that we had just shipped it, right? We had just shipped this new LeadBot 2.0, and we didn't have any results. We didn't have any metrics we could point to that would say, it's time for us to do it again. But being in a startup, we also had the problem of having an opportunity cost problem. So we were a pretty small team. We had many other things that we were supposed to be working on. So our management team wasn't super excited about this idea. But despite that, the team actually went into a meeting with our leadership team, and we said, we know we don't have any results, but we really think it's time for us to do this, another investment in this project. And unfortunately, we got laughed out of the room because in addition to having no data, we were a super bad team. And what I mean by this is that the way that we were working meant that no one was going to listen to us. our leadership team didn't think we could, A, make the call we were trying to make, and then B, actually back it up with results. And which brings us to part one, which is we had to figure out how we could be better just as a team so we could get the chance to do the work that we wanted to do. And what I mean by us being a bad team was that we were pretty good at the individual functions of our jobs. So product design, engineering, we were all pretty much okay, but we couldn't work together. And the biggest problem that we had was communication. And I'll give you some specific examples of what this looked like that might sound familiar to you guys. When we launched Lebat 2.0 in last May, we were 4 hours late, and we crashed everyone's browsers because we didn't actually talk about what was going to happen on launch day. We had kind of just skipped that step. Every single team discussion we had ended in the tech lead and I just arguing with one another while the rest of the team kind of sat silently around us. And then we were always using different words. So the tech lead would say things like, we need to fix our data model, this code's really hard to work in. Our designer would say things like, the IA is wrong, I want to do a redesign. And I was kind of over in another corner saying, we're not actually working on the bot builder anymore, we need to focus. So none of us were using the same words, we're never on the same page, and we were also never talking about customer value, which is theoretically what we're supposed to be doing. And this actually all came to a head one day when we had a particularly bad product review meeting where we meet with our leadership team. And it was clear that the tech lead and I were on just completely different pages about what we were working on. And it was so bad that our CTO and co-founder called the two of us aside after the meeting and asked us to talk it out in front of him. And that was like the work version of being called to the principal's office, and it was so embarrassing. I joined Drift in part to learn from our CTO, Elias, and here I was getting called out by him. But one reasonable thing did come from this, and that was that we named it. We called this the snafu. And the tech lead and I actually brought this language back to our team. We work in an open office environment. Everyone saw what happened. So we brought it back to the team, and it allowed us to actually have a shared language for when we were having one of those moments. When we were heading into conflict, we could say, hey, we don't want to have another snafu. We should probably figure this out. So a year later, actually, we still use that with each other. But it would have been easy for us to laugh that off as just like a weird moment that happened, in the course of business. But we had a reason to take that moment seriously and a reason to start in on the messy and awkward and vulnerable work of figuring out how to work better together as a team. And that was that mission that we were on to make our builder best in class. And we wanted to be proud of what we had built. We had been watching our customers use this product over and over again. We could see that there was something that we could do to make it better, and we wanted a chance to make it better. And it's really important to note that this wasn't a mission that was handed down to us by management. This wasn't like the executive team went to an offsite and came back and said, here's your vision and mission for the quarter. This was something that we saw that was personal to us and came out of our own experience with customers, because we could see them using our tool. So at this point, it wasn't just that it was the tech lead and I having a problem. There were other team members. And we decided to step back and think about, how could we all be better together? And again, we were all pretty good at our individual functions, but we were having trouble working together. And we use a tool at Drift called the Predictive Index, which is a personality tool. And I'm going to share our actual patterns with you guys. So this is the tech lead. He's really dominant. He's pretty aggressive. He doesn't care at all for details or process. But when he's forced to use process, he can get a little bit salty. This is my pattern. I'm also very dominant. I'm very intense. I care about results. But unlike the tech lead, I care very deeply about process. So you can probably see where we're starting to run into a problem. And here's our designer. She's the complete opposite of the two of us. She's very collaborative. She thrives in an open environment. She loves when a team is sort of really humming and working well together. So it's no surprise that we were struggling. And without looking at a tool, it would have been really easy for me to blame the tech lead and say, that tech lead just doesn't care about process, he doesn't want to listen. Or for the designer to blame me for constantly steamrolling everyone when I was talking. Or for the rest of the team to blame all of us for never shutting up about the bot builder. But by using this tool, we gave ourselves a way to step back and think about objectively how we were participating in our teamwork and what was going on between all of us. And honestly, at the end of the day, a lot of it turned out to be my fault. But this is where the story gets less interesting and less satisfying, because we had the snafu, then we looked at our patterns, we kind of understood where we all needed to get better. But from this point on, I don't have 5 tricks to making your team more efficient. I don't have anything like that because it just took work. We had to work at it every single day. I had to learn how to make room for my teammates at the table. The tech lead and I had to figure out what kind of process was going to work for the two of us. The tech lead and the designer needed to figure out how they could trust one another. They actually spent, I think, 3 hours one night whiteboarding different options for the bot builder so they could demonstrate to one another they could trust each other. And then from then on, it was just reps and sets. So from late summer of last year, probably through November, we worked on it every day. In every team meeting, every time we did planning, every time we presented to our executive team, we just had to work on it. So look at your teams. Think about if there's someone who's hard to work with. It's possible that someone could be you. And if that's the case, first step, find a reason. Find a reason to get better. Find a reason to do this hard work. Be honest about your role. Be honest about the conflict that you're having. Naming it can be really helpful. Use a tool to be more objective. And then laugh about it as much as you can because it's so awkward to talk about how you work and when you get into fights at work. So that worked for us. So we solved that problem, or at least we got a little bit better at it. We still had the second challenge, which was how do we convince our team to let us take this big swing? Or put another way, how do we figure out how to make the case to stop iterating and go for it? And at Drift, shipping iteratively is actually in our DNA. Our whole product process is built around how do we get the smallest increment out there and show value. But again, we had that feeling. We had this feeling we could make our builder better. And you can't really, in a team where you have to iterate, just kind of say, I have this feeling. No one's going to listen to you. So like every good product manager, I went into mode and I tried to find some data. And I was looking for 3 things in particular. I wanted to see the speed of new feature adoption going down because we were probably not solving a real problem, making our product harder to use. I wanted to see monthly active users kind of tailing off as well. And then for our product specifically, I wanted to see the length of time it took for our customers to build a bot to be going up because we were just making our product more complex. But unfortunately, I didn't see anything. Our metrics looked perfectly fine. And that was because in B2B, with our core product, we have customer success managers. And these amazing folks were making sure that all of our customers were building bots and seeing great success. So I couldn't actually find any justification in the metrics that this was something that we should work on, which is possible that this could happen to you as well. So when I didn't have any quantitative data, of course, I looked to qualitative data, and I asked our customers. And 2 things became super clear when we did this. First is that everything that we had done since LeadBot 2.0 in May of last year had added complexity. And I'll give you a very specific example. In B2B, we care, and especially in sales and marketing, we care very much about someone's email. And in B2B, there's 3 possible answers to what your email could be. You could give a professional email, so Maggie at Drift. You could give your personal Gmail, or you could try to skip the question or get it wrong, which is sort of invalid. And our customers wanted to do 3 separate things with each answer in their bot flows. And in the builder that we had, we ended up having to use drop-downs in words to describe where we were sending people, which is really hard to do and really complicated. And it's sort of silly, but again, this was the structure that we had. This is the product that we were working in. We were just one team. And if we had just made it look like this, it would have been much easier. Because you can see there are 3 options. You can see they all go to different places. And there were so many examples of things like this where it was just hard for us to build it because we were trying to describe what was happening rather than showing it. So we had learned, okay, we are objectively making our product worse pretty much every time we add a feature to it. Not good. It would have been easy for us to kind of take that decision tree layout and go to a customer and just validate it. But we thought that might be a little bit biased. So instead what we did is we stepped back and we said, overall, how can we help our customers have better conversations? And we did some journey mapping. And it became very clear because every single customer said the same thing. They said, oh yeah, the first thing I do is I take out a piece of paper and I draw my bot flow, and then I go to your product and I put it in. And that was because their papers looked like this. This is an actual example of one of the PDF a customer sent me. And you'll notice something. It doesn't look like this. It's not a straight line. It's much more complicated than that. So this is the better way that we wanted to have our product work, and this was much more obvious when you think about it. But again, our product had grown iteratively. We had been focused on building features to help our startup grow, to save customers from churning, to help people upgrade, and we had gotten distracted from kind of this core underlying structure of the product. Because in our case, what we were learning was that we could add as many features as we wanted, but the quality of the conversations our customers were able to have was not going to improve until we made it easier for them to write them. So that was the goal that we had set out pretty much in the beginning with the bot builder. And the feeling that we had in the very beginning, that feeling that we could make this thing better, was finally showing up when we talked to customers and we could see this information. So that was how we were able to make the case for making a big update. We told a compelling story, we used real customer examples, and we made it really obvious. It's really hard to say no when you see that in reality. So if you have a hunch or a hypothesis that your product can be better than fine, I would suggest you think about it this way. Are incremental and iterative shifts adding complexity? Are customers turning to other tools to make your product easier to use? Theoretically, you might be able to see your metrics start to slump and some signals in there, but you can't rely on just data to tell you that you have a huge opportunity ahead of you. So we had figured out our teamwork, we had figured out how to take the big swing, but we still had to pitch this thing. And I want to tell you specifically one thing we did to do that. We were pretty much, again, going to our executive team saying, okay, it's been 7 months by this time, we still want to do a rewrite. And the executive team, who's not very close to the customer, didn't know as much as we did, was obviously like, what are you guys talking about? That's going to be super expensive. But we were finally ready this time. I had pulled together all those anecdotes. I had all the bots drawn out on paper. The designer did something that she called a sizzle reel. And actually, when I talked to her before coming here, she said this was her biggest lesson from this project. A sizzle reel is when you put together a concept design that kind of paints the picture for where you want to go and helps your stakeholders understand what you want to do. So that was hugely valuable. And then we had our tech lead also do kind of a lightweight estimate, and he investigated how he would approach building so we could have a sense of how long this thing was going to take. And then we did another thing. And that was that rather than saying we wanted to update our bot builder to be a decision tree, which is kind of dry and not very interesting, we named it. We called it branching. We gave it an emoji. I actually made a little emoji of this and put it all over Slack. And when our stakeholders saw the sizzle reel, they saw the name, we had reframed this whole thing around customer value and how it was going to help our customers build better bots. It made it so easy for them to say yes and so obvious for them to say yes. And it made the question only one of scope. So we had bought ourselves 3 months to get this thing done by doing this. And that brings me to my last point. So you might be thinking by this time, especially when you're in product and UX, you have the go-ahead, you're building that great thing, your designs look amazing, customers are obsessed with it, like it's gravy. It's the engineering team, they're building it, like we're good. But you're not done on launch day. Launch day is just half the battle. We're done when that thing is in the hands of our customers, when customers are successful, when they're seeing the results that they need. So for me, it was when Mimi was finally getting successful. And a couple of things had changed by the time we went to launch this new thing. Our business had grown a lot, we had many more customers, and we wanted to treat their workflows with respect. We didn't want to just surprise them with a new bot builder. And instead of trying to be careful about how we launched this thing, especially to enterprise customers, we inverted it. And we said, what if there was a way that we could launch this thing that would be additive, that would make our product better? And we came up with 3 things. So I'm going to go through each of these in detail. The first step. Rather than just turning this on for everyone at the same time, what we did is we split our customer base into segments. We made those segments of a size that weren't going to overwhelm our customer success managers. They could handle the support volume. And then we ordered them from low risk to high risk. So low risk was like lower paying customers who liked new things, who didn't care if there were a couple of rough edges. And our high risk customers were definitely large enterprise customers who weren't very resilient and maybe didn't want to have this thing. So we sort of spaced our rollout over the course of about a month. And we made it an opt-in. So we made it so that every single person could kind of jump in and out as many times as they wanted. It was very low risk. No one had to be stressed out about this new thing. Second thing we did is we built FOMO, or a fear of missing out. And again, when you're launching to enterprise customers, the stereotype is that they're hesitant, they don't want it, they want to stay on the old thing, it just takes a really long time. But again, we were inverting this and we were saying, what if we could get them excited? So what we did was, even when we started this rollout, and maybe even a little bit before, we started to tell them about it. We were telling them about this new product. We were giving them glimpses of what it was going to look like, all the new things they were going to get out of it. And we were kind of just hyping up how awesome it was going to be. But then we said, you're not going to get it. You might get early access later, but you're not going to get this thing yet. So all of a sudden, our enterprise customers were reaching out to us saying, wait a second, can I get in? Like, how do I get in on this thing? And our customer success managers were slacking us, asking for all these different customers to have access. And then the third thing we did in this bucket is we saved the best for last. So we had one feature that was kind of our holy grail. Everyone had wanted it. We knew it was going to be really amazing. We put it in only the new version, and we kind of dangled it out in front of everyone as a little carrot to get them to jump over. And then the third and final step that we did was we were collecting feedback along the way, and we were acting on it. So if you had looked at our roadmap back when we started this in January of this year, April and May was basically just empty. We were just leaving it for follow-up because we wanted to be responsive, and we wanted the chance to make some high-speed improvements to the product. And we did that by collecting as much feedback as we could. So we put prompts kind of all over, especially when someone would opt out of the new experience, we would ask them to send us feedback. And we captured all of that in a public Slack channel. So I wasn't hoarding feedback and sort of keeping it and doling it out. Everything was public for everyone to see the whole time. And then what we would do is we would sit together as a team and do tape reviews. And what this meant was that we would sit in a room and we would go through the feedback in that channel. We would watch calls where customers were using the new builder, and we were identifying along the way what the sort of top deal breakers were for the product. And then what we did is we fixed them. So it wasn't good enough for us just to show that we were listening and gathering that feedback. We had to demonstrate to our customers that we were paying attention, we were going to make the product better, and they didn't have to worry. So by the end of it, we had identified about 4 deal breakers that our customers needed. We solved for it, and then we told them about it because it was critical for us to make sure that they could trust us. And here's an example of a customer who had emailed me, and he was pretty upset by one of the things that we changed. And I responded back to him, and I said, hey, here's a design, actually, of something that we're working on that might fix that problem. What do you think about it? And this is his response, wow, #game changer. And that's the kind of experience you can get with your customers when you demonstrate to them that you're listening, that you're paying attention, that you're going to make sure that they get what they need. And by the end of this whole thing, the bot builder was honestly 10 times better than when we started because we had been listening and we had been fixing things all along the way. So that was because we used our launch process to accelerate our learning. We weren't done when our first wave went out. That was just the beginning in some ways, because that was when our customers were finally using this thing. And it all came down to teamwork. I was handling customer communication, gathering feedback, figuring out what those deal breakers were. Our designer was kind of sitting there and just designing constantly and making updates. And the engineering team was just pulling off of her list as fast as they could and making updates along the way. And for us to start this in January, ship it by March, and have it cut over actually to all of our customers at the beginning of this week, we had to trust one another. We had to work in parallel. And we didn't build that kind of trust by going out for drinks or getting coffee. We built it by having that shared vision, by caring about what we were doing. We built it because this team was personally invested in what we were doing, and we had made a commitment to one another that we were going to get it done. And that comes right back to the point at the very beginning. We had to be able to communicate effectively to get this thing out the door. And you might be wondering how we did, so I'll give you a little glimpse. You can finally see the whole thing. It looks just like the paper. Email is better. Now you can see the 3 different options. You can see exactly where they go. You can write conversations piece by piece in line as you go through the builder. And everything comes with previews, so you can always understand what kind of conversation your bot's going to have. And in the same way that I let our customers tell a story about what we were doing wrong, I'll let them tell you if we got it right. This is Sarah, our #1 bot builder within Drift. She was super excited that her bot builder looked like her paper. We had a bunch of people actually tweeting at us that they loved it. Jason's our #1 fan. He loves it with every fiber of his being. And then we got 100 times better, which was better than the 10x I was going for, and we got a life-changing. So my advice to you is ask yourself, does your team have a shared belief? Do you have a reason to get better? Without that, it's going to be really hard to make progress. Second, is it time for you to stop iterating? Step back and think about what might be possible if your product worked differently, and don't be afraid to take a big swing. And finally, are you using your product launch to your advantage? You're not done when you hit that button. You can use that time to learn faster and make your product better. And that's it. Thanks.
Question time,
Yes.
Q&A. All right, we have a few here. Jess, I'm going to start out with your question first. Maggie, what do you do if a team member refuses to be honest about themselves and their part in the problem? Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that when we sat down and actually looked at our personality maps that any of us were being honest. But I think the way that we handled it was, even if the person didn't agree, we all had the thing that we wanted to get done. And so regardless of whether someone was willing to admit kind of, front and center that what they were doing, we were at least able to say, if you care about getting this thing done, we have to do better. So if we have to do better, something has to change. What are we going to do?
What did healthy tension between you and the tech lead look like post-snafu?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Dimitri is his name. He and I were talking before I came here. And for us, he would always, I think the healthy tension is that he pushes back on me when he feels like we're doing something that's too process heavy and we're losing sight of the point of the thing that we're doing. And I'm helping him understand, if you want to get these big products done and these big projects out the door, you have to kind of play by some of the rules. And so we were able to say, you want to do this work, I'm going to help you do that work, but to do that, you have to do this for me. So we were kind of like figuring out how to get both that stuff done.
Okay, cool. There was a question, how do you know branching was 10x better?
It did still come down to a feeling, but I think for us, when we looked at those diagrams, it was just so stupidly obvious that we needed to make that change. And once we started, I didn't really have time to go into exactly what all the designs looked like, but once we started actually building out those interactions, it was so much more easy when you think about writing a conversation to kind of like map it out. And that was something we could do that was doable, that we knew humans would recognize, that wouldn't be hard for them to use. And that's sort of how we made the guess.
Yeah, I think there was a question in there that was like, if it was what you thought it was going to be, how often would you skip that step, or would you skip that step if there was some sort of cadence of like, or would you do it every time?
What made this a little different for us is that because, like I mentioned, our product had grown iteratively, the underlying sort of architecture of it was a mess. And so branching was actually much more complicated than it might seem. So we had to do this like big architectural redo of some of the underlying parts of our product. And that was what for us had prevented us from doing it because it was going to be so hard. So I would say probably look for this, now that we have this new builder, I'm looking for the same signals, which is, are we not seeing sort of customers like picking it up really easy? Because you can kind of feel that if you're talking to customers and watching them work. It's just hard to see in the data.
Right. Okay. Danielle asks, your mission came out of your team's experiences. What did that look like selling that mission to execs?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that different than what I showed. Honestly, we were just able to pull clips from calls where customers were talking about this. We had tons of PDFs of bot flows, because sometimes what was happening was customers would send those PDFs to their customer success manager and ask them to build that bot. And the CSMs were understandably not super excited about doing that. So that was another thing that we could point to. And we wanted to build a best-in-class product, and I think it's hard to find an executive, or especially a founder, who doesn't also want that. So we were kind of just playing on the emotions of the team.
Oh, okay. Did you interview the customer success managers? And if so, did you find similar insight to the ones that you got from customers?
Yes. We, at Drift, we talk to our customers all the time, and we also talk to our customer success managers a lot. That's how we get on a lot of the phone calls that we're on. We just sort of jump in on whatever they have scheduled, and they were probably the first line of feedback, and they were the ones who were, once they started to see the designs, were kind of clamoring for it because they were sick of building bots in a confusing way, and they wanted it to be easier on them too. So they were absolutely one of the first places we went for feedback.
Okay. Jamie asks, what was the sizzle reel that you shared with stakeholders in order to win them over? Was it a video, a deck,
Yep.
etc.?
It was an interactive prototype that our designer built. I think she used InVision, and sponsor, and she doesn't let me use them because I always forget which things she's highlighted to move forward. So she recorded a video of her clicking through the InVision. So we had this like nice little video that we played that made it seem like you could build a bot in 5 seconds, basically. It was
That's
really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it was like a video, but it was just a video of a click-through.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'd always get it wrong, and then I wait for the blue highlight to tell me like where I have to go. So she hates that.
Let's give Maggie a round of applause. And
Thank you.